Hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. Quick note thanking you all in this last episode for the year for being a listener. Some of you, thank you for your messages and very sweet sentiments. I've heard from some folks who've been listening to this podcast for almost 10 years, back in the Obama era. Clemson Tiger football just started to kick ass. Outside of listening and expressing appreciation, a huge way to support me is by being a patron. It really helps, really allows for more and better. So this month I'm going to be unleashing on the private podcast patron feed 12 audio gifts for Christmas, including 12 answers for next year, like life answers we're talking, from the pastor with no answers. 11 of my favorite books I've read this year, 10 questions I'm okay with never being answered, 9 of this, 8 of that, 7 of this, 6 of that, and so forth, an assortment of other stuff, including some songs I can legally give you. Any new folks, I'll send my Depression and Bad Theology memoir, Fundamentalists. Most of the folks who support me do so because they love me, love the podcast, and the people I podcast with. Not much going on these days with the perks. That's not what they do it for. Don't have a whole lot of extra time. Still raising these kids. But this month, looking forward to making up for lost time. Merry Christmas to all the listeners and some special Merry Christmas gifts coming your way, patrons. Link in the show notes if you'd like to join even for a month. I've even got my Venmo link in the show notes. We'll call that one the Svensson Kid Christmas Fund. Help them get a little more lavish this year.
How are you? What's up with you? It's been a while.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've been on this show in like months.
I just feel like maybe Joey's trying to keep us apart because we have the most charisma. Yeah.
It's probably definitely favorites of me.
Whose favorites?
I don't know.
Each other's.
Yeah.
I mean, not really anything, you know? I'm just ready to have all my gifts arrive. Like every day there's 10 packages coming. So I just want to have all the gifts arrive and I want to wrap them up and I want to shove them under the tree and I just want to live my life.
I like the South. I like being here.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't really want to go anywhere else.
Me either. I mean, my husband and I are both from Charleston and we've grown up here and our families are here and I don't know, at one point somebody was I think Dick and I were talking about what if we moved to Greenville, which is the northern part of South Carolina, and everybody's here. We don't really have a need.
Yeah. I don't like big cities. I don't like the cold.
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Pretty good.
Blessed and highly favored, amen.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh, Dad.
Amen.
Listen, why have you been keeping me and Matt apart? We just realized it's been a minute.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
There's no rhyme or reason to how I do these things. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I do think of who I think would engage with certain topics and conversations more than others, but there's definitely not a pairing strategy.
I demanded, pleaded, called God on promises and was like, you have to show up or I am done. And he did.
That's something to really think about. What does it mean that the God of the universe loves me?
Are we saying that our God is bigger than their God or what?
Man, you got my mind going crazy right now.
I just think that is evangelical bullshit.
And I don't fit in their box anymore. So feeling rejected from the church makes me feel far away from God.
If I'm living out the love of God, love of the divine, then in some ways we're unoffendable.
It's wrong to marginalize anybody for any reason.
Sometimes we can just have some things about our perspective that's off until we encounter someone who can challenge our thoughts, have conversations with us, and we just continue to grow and evolve.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I like that.
That sounded like womp, 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 womp to Rob.
I'm a hardcore gospel lover. I do love the gospel. I just think we get it wrong.
Girl, I was so highly medicated, I don't even know if you Oh, God, my people.
So, come to think of it, I do miss seeing you guys together. Amy constantly worried about Matt going to hell and really loving him, and Matt feeling sad for his friend because Matt doesn't want you to feel bad about him going to hell because he's totally fine with taking a dirt nap. He's fine with that.
Sure, I'm fine with it.
And you know me, I believe he's going to be right there with us in heaven. And you're going to say, Joey, you told me so all this time. That's how it's going to shake
you
out.
might be right. I don't know.
That's not how it's gonna go.
Oh man, I do want to talk some Christmas stuff with you guys and catch up, but we definitely need to reserve some time to talk Kratom, and we need Jed for that. And then I've been wanting to talk about furries for a very long time, and I'm glad that. What are y'all snickering for?
Why?
I know, like, because you want to be
Why?
one, or like, what's?
Do you guys like the movie Four Christmases? I got to know.
Who doesn't?
Amy, I've heard so many people who don't like it. I think it's one of the best comedies of all time. I watched it again last night, and I mean, even Gwenny is like, this is maybe the funniest movie I've ever seen. I mean, from beginning to end. Matt, you've got to see it, man. Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon. I mean, Robert Duvall's in the daggum thing. But it is,
Let me look it
it
up,
is
maybe.
just one. Yeah, there you are.
There
you
he
go.
is.
It is just one funny scene to the next. And Amy, I think one of my favorite lines of any movie is when Vince Vaughn is telling his dad, Robert Duvall, about how much of a monster he was to Vince Vaughn's mom and how that kind of led to their divorce. And he said, I fed her. I kept a roof over her head and I never lied to her face. I spoiled her is what I did. And then how Vince Vaughn's brothers they're all up on that roof and they'd say something about needing different lug nut and Vince Vaughn's like,
I know what I'm doing, but I don't need any lock nut.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that you majored in a satellite dish installation at Stanford.
Yeah, that's great, dude. Mock me for being educated. That's awesome.
Hey, Grandpa! I mean, it's just one line after. It's just the best, man. Jed, have you seen Four Christmases?
No, I have not.
Oh my
Where
gosh!
are y'all living?
I'm jealous.
I think I have seen it. I had to look it up, but
I'm jealous that you guys get to see it for the first time. Jed, I'll be astonished if you don't think it's hilarious.
All right.
It is
I'll check it. And Georgia loves rom-coms.
Jed, I can tell that you just took an exam. You can tell,
dude.
I think I don't have a whole lot of discernment sometimes with people and their characters, but I have discernment on whether or not someone is like loose and free.
Dude,
I can look in your eyes and tell that you are heavy.
Oh my God. It's sociology of sport was the fucking exam. Dude, it's
sport.
Yeah, it's just, I can tell you everything. I'm slam jammed. My brain is so maxed out. And it was like, I did this last time with these. The last exam I had, I was late for work because it's a timed exam. And I'm like, yeah, I'll finish it in time. And every one of these exams, I run out of time. And this time it's like, oh my God. So like there's a countdown clock for the exam. And I'm like, I got to make it to this podcast. And like, dude.
Well, just know that you're doing kingdom work right now. That exam, I don't think you were doing kingdom work.
Whatever. I totally
screw kingdom work.
No, screw that exam, dude.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm acing that class. I really don't care. It was the last exam. This is like finals week. So
awesome. Hey man, as a fellow sufferer, how's your mental health been doing?
It's been okay. I guess it's actually been okay just because we've been so busy. So there hasn't been much time to freak out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say it's okay. Me and Georgia totally like looked at each other the other day and we're like, oh, so like when people say raising kids is hard, like this is what they're talking about. And we're like, fuck, dude, I know. Dude,
yeah, but I was thinking about the bright side of things. You are right there, man. So close to some magical Christmases.
Oh, it's
the most magical they get is right when they start getting excited, because right now she's a little too young for it to really comprehend, right?
I mean, I come home and she goes, Dad, and runs to me like she's...
No, I'm talking about Christmas.
Oh, well, yeah.
Of course she knows Daddy.
No, like we...
Dude, she just can't compute yet that you're a special person in her life. She just doesn't get it yet.
No,
I'm talking about like Christmas and the presents and the music. Like it's gonna be so
yeah. Like she gets excited for everything. So let me tell you real quick about the Thanksgiving escapade though. Like we went to George's parents. They live out in the country, and there was this like teeny tiny kitten, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this stray kitten just wandered in our yard 2 days ago." Like,
And Georgia's your wife,
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
way,
yeah.
for our listeners. Yeah.
sorry, and we can't take it, and so Georgia like gives me a look, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess we'll take it." And so my she just turned 1, and like she loves animals, dude. So she's like, yay, like playing with this kitten. We get home, but we have 2 cats and a pit bull. So the 2 cats hate the kitten with a vengeance. So they start peeing everywhere. It's like a territory war. We have the kitten quarantined. My daughter wants to, hug and squeeze the kitten. So I'll like hold the kitten and hold my daughter and fight off cat and pit bull. It's cute and it's great. And then we finally go to its first vet appointment on Monday. That was 3 days later. And they're like, oh, it's got ringworm and feline leukemia, among other things, that we ended up having to put it down. So it was like, okay, what? It was crazy.
Dang,
it was
man.
crazy. And then we had to go home and de-ringworm everything.
How do you de-ringworm stuff?
You wash every single thing that is washable, and you Lysol, and you bleach, and you vacuum.
Wow. That sounds like a lice ordeal, like when lice hits your house.
Like, thank God I had the wherewithal to keep the kitten quarantined for an event such as this, but still, it's like, damn it. So yeah, it's like the act of adopting a stray kitten ended up costing me $300, heartache, and ringworm.
You don't have any like rivers near you?
It's like mostly river.
Oh.
No.
Trigger warning number 1. In this instance, you may want to fast forward a bit if you'd be alarmed by hearing someone joke about cats being disposed of in a river.
We got bayous. We got the bayous, and we got
What'd you mean by that, Amy?
Yeah.
People are gonna hate me now. I'm like, if you, instead of putting it down, you're gonna just put like a brick.
Jesus Christ!
Drown it.
You're too country. Goddamn it! That's too country.
Dude.
And let's ask, are you please joking?
You're the worst.
Thank
I
the
know.
Lord.
So I grew up with pets.
Heartless
I know,
bitch,
the
man.
worst.
I was about to say,
I
like,
think-
surely you don't mean a river to drown the kitten in.
She does.
I was pretty sure that's what she meant, and I was like, whoa, let me
I
back
know
up
it's
here.
terrible.
Mrs.
I grew up with
Evil.
pets, and I do love, but Dick really does not want us to have a pet, which, of course, my girls wanted a dog, and I wanted a dog. We wanted a dog so bad, and Dick's like, no. And so then I was like, fine, I only like animals you can eat. And so then I would start saying stuff about, like, don't put it down, drown it, blah, 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 because I was just jealous that everybody else has pets, and I don't.
I'm traumatized.
So what I took out of that is you like to drown baby animals in local rivers.
Okay. All right. Well,
Accurate. No, it's terrible.
Just making
he's
sure.
a monster.
That's the soundbite.
This is live. Crazy.
Hey, y'all listen to this. So we had kind of like a all staff call at church to Christmas-ify the building. So tons of Christmas set up. And so we needed to carry a ladder upstairs, and it was a pretty sizable ladder. And so I'm looking, somebody says, hey, grab the ladder. I'm looking around. I'm grouped with, I think, one guy and the rest women. So a lady looks, grabs the ladder. She starts walking upstairs. The whole time I'm thinking, she's got it, but I could easily make it very easier on her by just saying, hey, I can get the other end. And I thought I could actually it's just the nature of my size compared to her size. I could way easierly, I don't even know how to say
More
it.
easily.
More easily. Yeah. I can more easily get the ladder. I can more easily get the ladder upstairs. And y'all, if this would have happened 25 years ago, I would have been very uncomfortable not saying something. Like, as a Southern gentleman, I'd feel really bad. Like, I'm not even asking if I can help. Y'all, I was petrified to ask if I could help in 2024 because a lot of the offense that women now take for that sort of thing of, oh, what? So you don't think I can handle this? And that's the thing is she was handling it really well. But my gosh, in the late 90s, if I would have been around a woman carrying a ladder upstairs when I'm empty handed, it would have made me extremely uncomfortable. Do y'all think that is a thing
I'm
that
still
society
offering.
is trending toward as far as like not
I'm still
offering help with
offering.
women?
I think that's
I
crazy.
think
You're
it is.
so worried
I
about
think you're
cancellation still. It's that
insane.
same
Yeah.
thing.
You think I'm insane?
It's the same thing.
especially-
Yeah.
Cancellation?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
that's what you're talking
I don't-
about.
No,
Yes, it
It's
is.
the same
it's
thing.
it's one person. I don't want to
Well, cancellation.
offend.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
what
I just said I would.
I don't know. These are like
No,
interpersonal
no,
relationships,
no.
and if there's an able-bodied woman who picks up a ladder and she's walking it upstairs and she's not asking for help,
if
there are some women who would be like, "Well, I've totally got it." In fact, I opened a door. This is, I mean, for real progressive people from a long time ago. I was visiting my brother. This was the late 90s. My brother was still in college. I asked a girl out in one of his classes just for the heck of it to see what she would say. She said yes. And I took her out and I opened the door for her, and she was extremely bothered by it and explained to me why she doesn't like guys opening the doors. It's a power trip and all that stuff. So I experienced that a long time ago. So you think this is just crazy talk, Jed?
I think I would offer help to anyone. Like that's
but she was much smaller than me.
Yeah, so that's
and
just she's
yeah. But I would not have offered a guy my size because I know that if I was carrying it upstairs, I didn't need help.
But okay, what about a guy her size? Would you have offered help?
If it's some little guy,
that's a really
That's
good question.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'd help you.
That's the whole thing.
I'd just be like,
yeah,
do you need help?
Yeah, and I do it especially if I think that they're gonna say no, then you just throw out the offer.
Here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just, I mean, my natural inclination was just literally grabbing it and just saying, "I got this."
No, I wouldn't do that.
Like smile on my face, say, "I got this."
See,
that's
over
rude. That's
yeah,
rude.
Yeah.
Why is that rude?
I mean, because she clearly had it too. Like, why would you step in there?
Now
like,
you're
"Let
too
me
far."
rescue you"?
Yeah, that's
okay. So y'all are just saying, "Hey,
Just
can I
ask.
help you with that?"
Yeah, that's
Then you're
totally
taking
fine.
control of the situation.
Well, I did that with it
instead of like if you just take it from her, you're
That
taking
makes
control,
sense.
which is very macho kind of.
See, I think everybody is way different. Like, for example, my mom, she's getting up there with age and she's sensitive about helping her with certain things that she's like, oh, I don't need help with that. And so there was a guy, he was loading up his car from Costco and it was pretty heavy stuff. And he was a pretty elderly man. And I just said, hey, do you need a hand? And he said, no, I got it. Thanks. And I was like, no problem. I do think there would be some old people in his shoes that would have been like, the hell you're thinking, youngster? You know what I'm saying? It just kind of depends, but I guess you can never go wrong with kindness.
Right.
Just offer, but don't force.
And I think we live in the South. Like, how many people are, worst case scenario, if somebody were to get upset, I'd be like, sorry, raised in the South, my mom would be so offended if I didn't offer to help somebody. And
I'll tell you what I get offended by.
Cussing.
No, if I throw you, if I throw you if I toss a hand, if I nod, if I nod up, and you don't respond, if you see me do that and you don't respond, this includes driving. That makes me so mad, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It takes nothing just to give me a what's up back.
I know that's.
I'm like on a crusade to bring back waving because it seems like nobody does it anymore, dude. And come on, bro.
I'm with you for sure.
I mean, I kind of get annoyed too when holding the door for people if they don't say thank you. I don't know. I feel like that's rude.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting into a Southern politeness
The best,
standoff where like you're both like, I got it, no, I got it, and it just it's like.
People from New York, I just get it for crying out loud.
Southern Louisiana is probably more so than South Carolina, is like real thick with social politeness and help in that way. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that here.
I remember going to New York City for the first time, and I was still in college. So this is 1999. And there's no exaggeration. My buddy and I walked into a hotel, and we walked in, and the guy behind the desk, the first thing out of his mouth, somewhat loudly, was no vacancies. Like, and it was so culture shock for me, because in the South, nobody's ever going to shout anything at you walking in. They're going to say, "Hey, how are you?" And maybe right up front, "I'm so sorry to tell you that we don't have any vacancies." This guy, he wasn't nice about it. He's just like, "No vacancies." I'm like, okay. Jed, we want to know about Kratom. And what's funny is I texted you guys some things that I wanted to talk about, and you said you're kind of an expert. So I want to hear as to why you would consider yourself an expert. But the first I ever heard of it, you had mentioned it in some podcast conversation, and I was just like, what is that? And I want to say you said something to the effect of opium that you can get at a gas station. And then the second time I heard about it was, I think you were in this conversation too. Hayne talked about Kratom as potentially a healthier option for opioid addicts, such as, I guess, in the same playing field as giving an addict clean needles to take care of them. Hey, I know we're talking about AI created child porn for child porn addicts, and whether if that could be a thing that could keep children safe. Hence, Kratom, could this be something that could help out opium addicts? But I'll read one thing and then the floor is yours. I want to first of all even know what it is, but I typed in safety of it, and it said people who take Kratom believe that it helps them, but Kratom hasn't been shown to be safe or to treat any medical conditions. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has warned people not to use Kratom because of possible harm it causes. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration calls Kratom a drug of concern, and yet it's over the counter at gas stations.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well,
it's from roots, right? Of some sort?
No, it's leaves. It's from Thailand. So it's the plant Mitragina speciosa is the plant. It's in the coffee family. It's been used in Thailand for centuries. It's actually a pretty fascinating plant with a crazy wide spectrum of effects with the different alkaloids that are in the leaves. So there's one alkaloid, 7-OH, that is 15 times more potent than morphine. But there's also serotonin affecting alkaloids, so it almost acts like an SSRI. It hits the...
Have you heard of Kratom, by the way, Amy?
Yeah.
So traditionally, you chew the leaves, or you pick the leaves, you dry them, you cut them up, and you either put the powder in a drink, you brew it into a tea, or you put the powder in capsules and take them that way. In that form, it's, especially if you're getting it from a reputable source, it's definitely less harmful, and definitely a good... definitely a harm reduction alternative to opioids. I do know one friend that he's just been on Kratom for 5 years now. He just takes the same dose and he's fine with it. And a lot of people online they'll get into the argument that it's not an opioid. It's officially classified as an atypical opioid, and that means because it does not come from opium poppies. So it's not officially, but it does affect the mu opioid receptor, which is the good opioid receptor in your brain. But interestingly, it affects the kappa opioid receptor too, which is extremely unpleasant. So if you take too much Kratom, you'll start to get almost effects of Narcan. Basically, you start to feel very shitty if you take too much. So it's kind of self-limiting in that way.
How does that compare to methadone?
How would I compare it to methadone?
Is it similar in impact? Because I know that they use that to stay off of heroin too, right?
No, methadone is like way stronger and way more of like an actual opioid. Like it's way, methadone will fuck you up.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Like if you took some Kratom right now, like you would feel good and get a little high. If I gave you some methadone right now, you'd be fucked up.
So Kratom is better for you than heroin. What if you can go through your whole life without ever having Kratom? Is that better than taking Kratom?
Yeah, it's no more like Kratom's no more dangerous than coffee. Like if you're talking about like
really,
yeah, but hold on, but then you get into what does dangerous mean? I mean, some people will argue there's no such thing as a dangerous chemical. It's just how you use it. It is not dangerous in the way that like it's not gonna like stop your breathing. It's not gonna give you a seizure, you know, assuming you're taking it in a reasonable dose. It's fine. It's no more dangerous, right, than a cup of coffee. Like it's going to have.
Yeah, but isn't it that you don't think there's a lot of unknowns? Because I actually did see potential seizures. Like
all those like scare things and all those adverse effects. Number one, you can probably find the same stories with like green beans, because like if you give green beans to 1 million people, a certain percentage of them are going to have adverse reactions. And that's just the way humans are. Right. And a lot of these people, the problem, like reputable sourcing is the key thing here. Like the problem is the shit in gas stations is unregulated Wild West garbage. Like potentially some of it's fine. Some of it is like, they're putting research chemicals into it. So you also have to look at like in those cases, the toxicology studies, like were they taking something else? It does have a lot of interactions with a lot of things. So
if it's the pure good stuff, it sounds like what you're saying is you could take it every day, wouldn't be harmful necessarily, but you're not going to really feel good, because it sounded like after you take it a lot, it's going to start weighing on you.
No, and so number one, because it does affect anything that affects the mu opioid receptor. If you take it consistently over time, your body will get dependent on it. You will get tolerant to it. If you stop it, you will have withdrawals. So the big dangerous thing though with Kratom is they made extracts. So they will refine it so that it is in a typical whatever like standard preparation of Kratom, the amount of 7-OH is like 0.035%. It's like not much. They're making extracts that, you know, like 7.5%. They are basically turning beer into Everclear. Like they're finding the really good opioid alkaloid in it and extracting it, refining it, and making it very potent. The extracts are extremely addictive, have really terrible withdrawal effects. And recently they are just doing pure 7-OH tablets up to 15 milligrams that are straight up like it would be like taking a 30 milligram oxycodone, like if you've never done it. It's way shittier than other opiates in that like you get really tolerant to it really quickly, so it stops having effects, but you're addicted, so you can't stop taking it. The 7-OH pure extracts are so bad that the American Kratom Association is actually lobbying for it to get banned, because it is like, hey, this is the kind of stuff that is going to get Kratom banned, because there's always been a push to ban it. I don't think plants should be banned, period. And that's the kind of thing that is going to get it banned, because the extracts are what people are having seizures from or overdosing from. It's not like, so that's where you got to separate. Like when you say like, is this dangerous? It is dangerous in the fact that it is an opiate. You will get dependent. Like, it has everything that comes with taking an opiate. So taking it daily is not advisable. But if you, Joey, took it once a month, once a year. Like,
Yeah, let me ask, so for someone like you, Jed, who has to pretty much have no tolerance for any chemicals because of your drug history, would this fall in line with something that you're just like, I can't touch this stuff, man. I can't do alcohol, I can't do weed, I can't do kratom.
I relapsed on it. Yeah, it fucked my
I thought
life
that's
up,
what you had
like,
told us.
horrifically.
Yeah. I knew that. I just didn't know if that was something that you wanted to share.
Yeah, and a lot of addicts, recovering addicts, are falling into that trap. The first time I took it, I mean, I was in a sober living house, and this is when it came out, or I mean, I'm sure it had been out when it became noticeable to our friend group. This was back in 2010 or something. My buddy just came home from work and was like, "Have you ever heard of this stuff? It's like coffee." And I was like, "No." And I took it and I was like, "Holy shit, I feel amazing. Let's do that again." And so the first time I truly didn't know, but every time after that, I knew. And it kind of has changed my mind about the whole like legalization of everything, and like, what if if people could sell heroin, because it was so tough to stop, because when you're in opiate withdrawals and you know that a 5-minute walk down the street will make you feel better, like it was impossible to beat that. Like, I just could not.
Jeez, man.
So I definitely advise any recovering addict to stay so far away from it. But if I like objectively look at it for normal, quote, normal people that don't have substance use disorder, like, I don't think it's any more dangerous than, except for the things I said.
Yeah, Amy, you started a nonprofit just recently called Kratom Kills. That's why you're the guest. Tell us about that nonprofit.
No, but I was wondering though, don't they say like one of the ways they kind of want to market Kratom is like you can't take it if you're already on SSRIs, but maybe it could replace SSRIs? Isn't that kind of like
really like antidepressants?
So
yeah, that's what I've heard.
I hadn't heard that. It does have pretty amazing antidepressant effects, but the problem is that the honeymoon period is so short, and then you just get tolerant, and then it doesn't work. What has happened recently, there was this company called Feel Free. You may have seen these in gas stations. They're little blue glass bottles about this big. They say Feel Free, botanical tonic. And when they came out, it's a kava and kratom mixture. When they came out, though, to find out kratom was in it, you had to look at this little itty bitty writing on it. So a ton of people legitimately did not know there was kratom in it, started taking them, and then found themselves addicted to it. There's entire forums dedicated to just quitting these specific drinks, Feel Freeze. And so there's a class action lawsuit against that company for false advertising. It took my friend 2 years. He just quit those. Took him 2 years to be able to stop. Like, because it's very like deceptive, to where like, like his life wasn't ruined, but the fact was he couldn't stop drinking 7 of these things a day.
Jeez. That's bananas.
Yeah, Matt, when you said it sounds dangerous, like, yes. It's like yes and no. I guess it's just because if a adult does research, uses discretion, like, there is safe ways to do things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I'm not for like banning things outright, where I see a lot of older people using it for, like, I probably would say it's better if someone, for instance, is prescribed Lortabs or Vicodin for the rest of their life, like they're in their like 70s.
This would be better.
Yeah, or equal, and potentially a little better, especially if they're getting like good quality leaf.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who suffers with kidney stones, for instance, in the back part of my mind, it's good to know there's a backup plan. If I don't have any painkillers, there is something at the gas station now that's more powerful than Tylenol. And I'll tell y'all, I had the craziest kidney stone experience. I must have been having struggles with the same stone for a while, but I kept having pains, and then it would go away. But 2 nights ago, I woke up about 5 o'clock, and I'm telling you, when I get a kidney stone, it just disrupts everything in my body. I'm hot. I mean, sorry for the TMI. So skip through. I'm going to start talking bodily function stuff. Skip through right now. But I mean, I was diarrheaing on the toilet
because of a kidney stone.
It messes with you, buddy.
Yes, because the pain and then I started getting that warm moisture in my mouth where I'm like going to throw up. My kidneys are hurting like crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go back to bed.
How many times do you get those?
Oh, I've had them.
I've passed over 20.
Yeah.
You
I'd
have?
say that's about the same for me. But here's so Matt, you'll get a kick out of this. Like, I've never had this all happen so fast. So I literally laid back down. I had probably about 20 minutes more worth of that sort of pain. And then I started feeling that it's kind of like a nagging, it's somewhat abrasive, but it's not the pain anymore. But it's when it goes in its bladder. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's already, I mean, stuff. I had the biggest smile. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I had kidney stone pain for about an hour. Now the thing's in my bladder. And then we had a beer in the outside refrigerator. So I downed the beer and then I downed tons of water. And the very next time, pop. And dude, it was a big one, man.
Okay.
It was a big one.
Yes. Fast forward. Because I'm going to ask a question. But like, wait, what is it like shooting a rock out of your urethra?
Fun. It's relief. It's so much relief. It's the best experience in the world.
Sure. Okay, that.
I'm not going to say it's the best experience in the world for a very split second. But Jed, it happens so fast.
Oh.
By the time your brain registers anything, it's like already out. And then the real big ones, like my dad in the early 70s, he had to he has a scar where they cut him open and took it out. Now they do lithotripsies where they can laser it, and then you have to, pee all that stuff out, which I've had to get quite a few lithotripsies.
Is it
but
like a
I'll tell you this
movement though, like to where you have to like move it, or it just like flows out?
Well, if it's big enough. I had one that was 9 millimeters a few years ago. 9 millimeters by 4 millimeters. That's just, it's about the size of a Mike and Ike. So just think about that.
Why you gotta ruin?
Have you ever looked up a picture of one?
Are you kidding me?
Of a stone? I've seen it. It was my husband and my daughter. Audrey was like 8, and she got her first one, and we thought she was dying.
There are 3 different types, and so there are sharp ones, and there are spiky ones, and then there are smooth ones. Yes. Change your life right now.
Oh, I'm looking.
Y'all listen to this. Listen to this. Before going on a Bad Christian tour, I knew that I had a kidney stone. And so I went to the urologist and he said, listen, the stone is so big, it's not going to travel hardly at all. So you can go on this little thing and then we can get give you a lithotripsy when you get back. Y'all, I ended up in the emergency room on this tour. The stone that the urologist said is too big to move at all. Got in that little tube. Jed, now you know I'll be shocked, Jed, if I bet you think the pain has to do with the penis.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
Yes.
No, the pain is the traveling from the kidney to the bladder. That is the pain, because it is like a nagging. Like my first kidney stone, I ended up in the hospital. There's a janitor that looked at my dad and said, "Hey, what's wrong with him? He'd probably get in trouble." That's probably not good protocol, but my dad said he has a kidney stone. He said, yeah, I had a friend who's gotten shot before and he's had a kidney stone, said he would rather get shot before. It's like the most horrible nagging back pain. And there's just that, Matt, there's no way you can describe it.
Yeah. And it's impossible to get comfortable. It's what I would think it would feel like to get shot in the kidney. It's what I would think.
I gotta quit looking at these.
If you've looked at them now, you understand. Like, and there are different types. I've had all the types.
like shards of
Yeah,
glass,
they're very
dude.
sharp. My biggest one was not sharp. It was really smooth, thank God. But I had it for a year and a half before I
Dude.
passed it.
So wait, you had a
Gosh.
year and a half of
Yeah,
excruciating
every
pain?
day. I'm terrified of doctors, yeah. So I wouldn't get a lithotripsy.
Why are you that afraid of doctors?
I'm insane. I'm terrified of needles. Terrified.
As a kid, at least I had memories of accidentally, hitting my dad in the balls and just how he would react, just like, oh my gosh, that really hurt. And then I remember him going through kidney stone pain. And I'll never forget me, mom, and my brother going into Taco Bell for a nice sit down dinner while my dad was laying down in the back seat in agony. And so I'm thinking kidney stones, it must feel like constantly getting kicked in the balls 100 times in 1 minute. And the pain is the stone going from the kidney to the bladder. That is the excruciating.
Immense relief just washes over you once you pass it.
Yeah. Well, because
Joey gave you trigger warning number 2. I'm back with number 3, in which Jed talks about being constipated from opioids and letting it all out in jail. This is smelling like a poopy podcast.
this is going to be such a TMI episode, but like opiates constipate you. So there's a prison story. I mean, I hadn't defecated in about a month, like
such a gross episode,
a calendar month. And
why?
And because opiates constipate you.
Bro.
And you can die that's essentially why Elvis died. You can give yourself a heart attack you can dislodge a cornea from trying to poo because you strain so hard. That's always been a fear of mine. But it's, literally when it finally came, it was roughly the size and girth of a Pringles. It was both excruciatingly painful and the most relieving thing in the world. And I was in prison and it didn't flush. And I'm in a bunk with 48 men and they're screaming at me to flush this thing down. And I was like, it won't go. And they're like, you better get it down. And so I had to grab some newspaper.
Yeah, please.
Push it down.
God.
Yeah. You can edit this out. Yeah.
What is this podcast episode? How am I on this?
It's a poo cast.
I was surprised. I've had a couple of conversations recently with just friends. One, my brother over Thanksgiving, and I was surprised of the different levels of conceptualizing people have of furries. All right. And so I will say that to my understanding, a full-fledged furry would be someone who basically says, I identify as an animal. And I think that, or I know that at my kids' school, there are, I'm going to guess by the estimates of how they're sounding, there's probably 4 to 5 in their school that, may have a bunny tail or just something along the lines where, hey, I'm making a public statement that I've got something going along with this animal identification, which is a bold move because they're going to get ridiculed. There's not an overall acceptance at this school. I saw on Facebook something that was extremely disturbing, and I have absolutely no clue whether or not to believe what I saw. I just don't know. I don't know how far this thing has gone, but the person who posted it definitely wants you to believe that this is actually something going on, that he's recording from his phone on a street corner in Germany. And what I saw was 2 adults with leashed humans who were both acting like dogs. So, licking at each other, sniffing each other, not talking. And I'm telling you, it was very disturbing.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, if
I don't appreciate you sharing my personal videos, but okay.
I knew you were going to say something like
all
that.
Right. that really was disturbing to me, and I was thinking, wow, has it gone that far? And I do have some questions for y'all
fetish.
about this.
It's puppy play.
Yeah, but
puppy play.
this one was hilarious, and I don't know how it seemed legit. It could be comic genius, but there was a mom on Instagram that was basically saying, I took my daughter to the vet because my daughter identifies as a cat, and she said she has a right to be treated like a cat, and she needed a medical treatment. And so she says, I go to the vet, and he basically looks at me and says, I'm not qualified. This is a human. I treat animals. And I'm telling you, if that's a true account of a real mom who thinks that her child needs a veterinarian because her human child identifies as an animal, that mom.
Well, that identifying as an animal is called therianthropy or otherkin.
And I think furry is a different thing. Yeah, I think.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that
animal
and the puppy
identification
play thing that you saw in the Germany video, that's
a sex thing.
That's just kink.
Gotcha. Okay.
Don't knock it till you try it.
You might be a good puppy. Good boy. He's a good boy.
Bad boy.
Who's a good boy?
Pee on the pad. You pee on the pad.
Why am I on this episode? I do not belong here.
I didn't belong here with that last comment.
All
right. The street corner in Germany, sex thing.
Yeah.
Tell me what a furry is.
It can be a sex thing, I guess.
What's a furry?
I think it's.
Yeah, I mean,
it's generally like someone who's super duper autistic.
When someone says they're a furry, what are they saying?
Dresses in like a costume of a certain design.
Yeah,
because they feel more comfortable presenting themselves as like a different species.
Yeah, from what I can tell, it's like a mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some people.
If they go to conventions.
Gosh, I'm learning. I love this. I should probably feel stupid, but I thought furries were people who said, hey, I identify as this animal. So this is just kind of like I want a shell of some sort.
I mean, that's what I've gathered from. I know a couple folks that are in that. I don't really ask questions, though. I don't know.
They have fursonas. Like they're.
I remember that now. Yeah.
You'll see a few furries at the comic conventions, and they're always weird.
Mm-hmm.
But God bless them and their little tails. They spend thousands of dollars building those costumes.
There's some neat dragon scale stuff I've seen.
Listen, no, it is
There's
terrifying.
Some pretty
we
awesome
went to see an Atlanta Braves game, and Atlanta Braves, their new stadium. There's like the hotel right there. There's several hotels like right around there. And so when we're going to park, we had like driven a couple times around, and there was like a freak show convention. I don't even know, like, I don't want to say it wasn't like Comic-Con, but it was like some kind of cosplay, whatever. And like, it was terrifying. And I mean, Audrey was like holding onto my hand so tight. She was like, what are these people? I'm like, I don't even know. This is freaking me out. This is disgusting. Everybody looked crazy. I felt like we were
like
crazy.
Describe it more. Like, what were they wearing? I'm curious what this was.
So gross things. I don't know. Like, some people looked like they were like dead.
It was like a Guar convention.
Wait, what was it? Were they filming The Walking Dead?
Or a
they
Guar
convention. I like The Walking Dead.
So funny,
that
dude.
was not it. They were just gross.
Just gross.
I need more description than gross, though.
There's all kinds of conventions up there in Atlanta.
Well,
so
the one, it was some kind of cosplay, something, and like, they were everywhere, and it was like, we went to eat dinner afterwards, and we went to that Murphy's whatever, and they were all in there eating and like walking around, and I was like, I just can't even eat in here. It was so.
And you didn't take pictures and like post them online to shame them? Why not?
No.
Is Dungeons and Dragons and being a furry on the same plane?
No.
Like,
No.
is there something there? Like, hey, I'm actually going to pretend to be an animal, and that's kind of my character.
And in the way that you might cosplay your character, I guess that could be a parallel. Sure. You might
one's
cosplay your well, yeah, I would say it's a little more extreme to me because I'm not wearing a hot suit like that for anything. But if you
That's your line. That's the issue. The hotness.
It's got to be hot.
The whole thing.
You have for years worked with kids in youth group and our church that you and I were a part of together for a long time. If a kid shows up at youth group and talks to you and asks questions about being a furry, what do you think about that, Miss Amy? Because that just seems like kind of neat. I've been thinking about wearing it. I'm trying to understand, to the best of your knowledge, what would that kid say their reasoning is? I'm still trying to understand what a furry is. Like, what would that kid say? Here's why. Like, what's the typical kid say why they want to do this, or adult? Like, what? I still don't get it. Because all this time I've been thinking that this is someone who identifies as an animal, so they dress up and act like it. And now I'm being told that's not the case.
I think these kids are just trolling you, really. I think that's just kids fucking with adults and making y'all believe crazy shit. Because, like, there was this whole Fox News thing that people went crazy over about litter boxes in bathrooms. Yeah. Not true at all. Complete nonsense. But it went all over, all over the world.
Total.
As if it's true. Up. Yeah.
Okay, listen, if you were just to Google this, though, like furries, like I just Googled it, the furry fandom emerged in the 1980s. BS. Never saw a single person in the 80s or 90s do this. This is totally crap. Furries have been the subject of ridicule, mainstream, blah, blah, blah. But it does say on here, Joey, which is what I thought too, people who are interested in anthropomorphic animals or animals with human characteristics. And it does list the personas.
I mean, they have fan fiction.
So that sounds a lot like Dungeons and Dragons.
No, it doesn't. Ugh.
I'm telling you, it does to me.
It does to you, Matt?
I agree.
Thanks, Matt.
No.
So, slight insight. There was a period of time when I hung out with this group. I met them originally at my church, but they were awesome people, and they were really cool. They were uber nerds. So, like, for a weekend, they had their own tabletop role-playing game, and one weekend we went to they had property in the country, and they had gone beforehand and set everything up, and we had an entire weekend where we stayed in character and we searched for items that were actually like buried in fields, and we followed a storyline, and it was super fun. Like, it was really fucking fun, and it was just like, this I was just what the hobby was. But this, like, assembly of people, one of them was closeted gay man, a few of them in retrospect absolutely autistic, very socially outcast. This woman, the main girl, her mother sewed everybody's costumes. She was, it was just a awesome group of people, but extremely socially, I don't know the word for it, but I mean, what I described to you, that's the kind of people they were.
Yeah. So, Matt, you'll have to use your imagination because you're not a father, but wouldn't you, would we all, if we had a kid that said, Dad, I'm going to be a furry, like, no, you're not. Shut up with that stupid stuff.
I would be concerned because I think I don't care really, what you do at all, but I think it's a symptom of like a societal question. Like,
right.
People are isolated and they feel the need to do that because of something.
That's what, and like, even just looking at this, like, Google-ness and Wikipedia and stuff, it's just like another way for people to find like a community and like a group of people. And it's like, you look at animals.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We want community really bad. And we will fight really hard to do it and dress up to do it.
And there are some people that totally bang it out in their
for
costumes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. For sure. But that's a sect. That's not all of
Right.
them. Also,
So basically, I think if my kid came to me and was like, "Hey, I identify," I think I can see where animals have like human-like qualities, and I think this is cool, and I want to do this dress up, and I want to hang out with this group of people. I'd be like, absolutely freaking not. Like, no. Let's talk about what is it you want to do? Because like, the people that are going around like the schools and that are like wearing a tail, or they're doing this or they're doing that, it is definitely a cry for help, I think. I mean, and people are probably going to blast me for it. I don't care. That's my opinion. We all have one, whatever. My opinion is that's somebody who wants to belong. And there's got to be a better way than donning a tail. Gotta be.
I mean, maybe there's not, and that's why.
Yeah, what if that's where they belong?
Nobody
though?
belongs with a tail. No.
I mean,
that's
if you
That's
find
ridiculous.
other people that are socially isolated, you will.
Well,
and a lot of them
at us.
understand the absurdity of like what they're doing, but like that's their hobby. It's like you could argue that people that dress up insanely for NFL games on Sunday, like that could be just as silly to someone else.
Yeah.
No.
Good point.
Why not? What's the difference? Just because your cultural taboo ends at furry tails.
yeah,
But,
I
like-
can do that if I want to. I can say that. I can be like, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Well, it is to me.
All right, Matt, close us out in prayer.
Yes.
Matt's going to close us out in prayer. No, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to ask you guys, in your head right now, think of how many different languages you can say Merry Christmas in. I can do a measly 3, including English. Can anybody say it in more
Wait,
languages?
say that again. Sorry.
So just how many languages can you say Merry Christmas in outside of English? I can only say it in 2 besides
2.
English.
Feliz Navidad.
Yeah, that's
Joyeux
one of them.
Noel.
And then what's the other? Okay, what's your other one?
Wait.
Jed.
Oh, what's the Hawaiian? Mele
Laka.
Kaliki Laka.
Mele Kaliki Laka is Hawaii.
Amy's
Yeah,
got to
3.
dance to it.
Mele Kaliki Laka.
See, I know German. Fröhliche Weihnachten.
Whatever, Joey. Blah, blah. You took German. Blah, blah.
Matt, do you have any to add?
Nope.
You don't know any?
Well,
Just Feliz Navidad.
yeah, he has Feliz
You don't know
Navidad.
Joyeux Noel?
Hey, he knows it in some sort of computer code. Like he can.
00117. I don't think there's 7s.